Good evening, everyone, and welcome once more to Sonal's Table. Today is World Health Day. It is a day when the World Health Organization celebrates the selfless service that medical professionals give to the community. On that occasion, today we have with us two doctors, Dr. Arva Bhavnagarwala, who's a pediatrician and practicing in Mumbai, and we have Dr. Sai Surve Rane, who is a dental surgeon and she practices in Maharashtra. So these are two women who will be joining us today to give their perspectives on healthcare when it comes to children. Now, as parents, all of us are concerned when it comes to our children. As their primary caregivers, it is our endeavor to always ensure that we give the best care to our child, be it in terms of health, be it in terms of any kind of facilities that we give to them. But during COVID times, our stress levels have magnified, I would say. How do we safeguard our child, their physical, their mental, and the psychological health when it comes to keeping them entertained, when it comes to providing them the right supplements, when it comes to taking care of their dietary needs, even when it comes to keeping a watchful eye on the kind of things that we need to look out for. So it is with this in mind that today we bring to you this session, which is basically on child health and care pre and post COVID. In the duration of this session, just to structure it a little better, we have divided the session into several segments so that none of the developmental ages of the child get missed out on. So we'll start with infants and we'll go up to the age of 18 till the child achieves, their or rather attains their age of maturity. So we'll be discussing the dietary needs, the nutritional needs, the psychological, emotional needs, the physiological needs, as well as any other supplements and things that we as caregivers need to take care of. So with that, I would like to introduce my first guest, which is Dr. Arva Bhavnagarwala, who is a pediatrician, like I said, and practicing in Mumbai. Good evening, Dr. Arva. Welcome to Sonal's Table.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And with that, I'd like to call on board Dr. Sai Rane, who's a dental surgeon. Dr.
Hi.
Rane, good evening. Good evening for joining us here. Now, on the occasion of World Health Day, before we begin this session, first let me thank both of you for your selfless service during these unprecedented corona times. The community, what the medical community has done for us common people cannot be measured in words. It cannot be measured in any accolades that we can heap on you. So thank you so much for your selfless service and devotion during these times. Now, with that in mind, what I would like to, just to structure this session a little better, I would like to discuss child health and care starting from infancy till age of 18. So with that, I would like your perspective, Dr. Arva, on even if we remove COVID from the situation, let's talk pre-COVID. What is the most important thing that a primary caregiver or parent needs to keep in mind when it comes to an infant? What are the signs of ill health that a parent needs to look out for? What are the signs of good health in an infant, say 0 to 1 year of age? And what are the things that we need to look out for? So could you please enlighten us on that?
Yeah, sure. So the basic thing in an infant is the mother can notice how the child develops. Mother or
Right.
the caregiver, anybody at home, right from the feeding habits to passing urine, motions, how they start smiling, start uttering their first words, start turning, then gradually they start sitting, crawling, standing, and so on. So these
Right.
are all the basic milestones, which are the
Okay.
earliest indicator that if anything is wrong, these will be affected first. So
Right.
the way the child moves his or her eyes, so and how they feed, basically. If they're feeding
Okay.
well, gaining weight well, so
Mhm.
that these are all signs of good health. Then, when
Okay.
the child visits the pediatrician for the routine
Mhm.
vaccinations, the pediatrician
Mhm.
also checks for all these things. And if anything is amiss, the parents are guided properly as to where they are supposed
Right.
to go for further reference. Okay, so
Okay.
these in this 1 year of age, these are some important points. Later on, after 6 months, when the baby is on weaning foods, at that time also we can monitor as to how they are
Mhm.
accepting the different foods, how they are gaining weight or not gaining weight, any vomiting, loose motions. When they start teething, again there are many other
Mhm.
issues which come into play. So all these,
Right.
the parents can be taught how to monitor and what are the danger signs and when to approach a pediatrician. So this we do
Okay.
on a routine basis.
Okay. Tell me, when a child is born, what is
Hmm.
the first instance that an infant should be taken to a pediatrician?
First, on discharge from the hospital, they are checked thoroughly well. And
Okay.
during those 2 or 3 days only, we figure out whether the child
Hmm.
mother will be able to feed the baby, whether breastfeeding or formula feeding. They are trained in the hospital itself.
Okay.
Then the first vaccine shot is at 6 weeks. So that time they
Okay.
automatically go to the pediatrician. And again, the pediatrician will check the baby for the milestones and everything. And then
Mhm.
every month after that, they keep going for the vaccines. So those vaccines are basically well baby clinics also, where we monitor
Okay.
the growth of the baby, the height,
Right.
weight gain, everything.
Mhm.
So right from that
Okay.
age onwards, we look after them.
Okay. And Dr. Sai, when it comes to a dental perspective, what is the first instance that an infant needs to go to a dentist?
If a child is born with any developmental defects, then
Mm-hmm.
right when the child is born,
Okay,
the
such as
patient will need
developmental defects, such as.
developmental defects of not dental tissues but
Uh-huh.
oral tissues or the
Okay.
jaws, because
All
the
right.
first tooth will show itself up only at 6 months or later,
All
usually
right.
not before that.
Mm-hmm.
So the first instance of checking the baby's oral cavity is usually checking the jaws and perioral structures, the lips. Okay, so there are a lot of patients who come with cleft lip or a cleft
Right.
palate, where
Yes.
the nasal cavity and your oral cavity is communicating, making it impossible for the child to feed normally. They have to be fed with
Okay.
spoon. So, in such
Okay.
a case, the child will have to report to a pediatric dentist specialist.
Mm-hmm.
So, they usually create or prepare a prosthetic obturator for the child so that he can suckle and feed properly. And
Mm-hmm.
then, as the child grows and his usual health parameters are normal, like hemoglobin, weight, and everything, then we can schedule a surgery for that child to correct
Okay.
such developmental defects.
So who does
Another
the
is
surgery? A dental surgeon or a general surgeon? Who will do
it is a
the
specialist.
surgery?
So it is a
Okay.
pediatrician along with an oral surgeon. The oral surgeon
Okay.
specialized in cleft lip and cleft palate surgery.
I see. All right. Okay.
This is just one developmental defect. Another kind
Hmm.
of, I wouldn't say defect, but an anomaly is presence of teeth right at birth. So
Okay.
the teeth are supposed to come out at 6 months of age when we
Hmm.
wean the child and take him to solid foods, right?
Hmm.
So if the child is already having teeth, the
Right.
feeding will be a problem not for the child
Oh
but for the
God.
mother.
Yes.
She will
I
hurt
can
herself.
imagine.
These
Right.
teeth are called natal teeth, and
Okay.
these teeth need to be extracted so as to facilitate
Oh my
feeding.
God. I see.
So
Okay.
these are the instances. So basically, till 6 months of age, the baby won't really have dental problems. He will have these
Mm-hmm.
other developmental issues.
Okay.
Now, all the dental governing bodies recommend that a first visit in normal babies to a
Mm-hmm.
dentist should be when the first tooth shows up, which is
I see.
usually at 6 months, but can be any
Hmm.
time up to 1 year. So they recommend
Okay.
that the first visit should be no later than 1 year. Okay.
Hmm.
And in this case, we check to the eruption pattern, whether the eruption pattern is early or delayed. And again,
Okay.
the teeth that are erupting, are they normal in their anatomy, or there are certain developmental defects of teeth themselves? Like there
I
are
see.
certain
Okay.
conditions, like yeah, dysplastic conditions, which
Right.
affect the formation of the teeth and is reflected in abnormal shape of the teeth or abnormal texture of the teeth, roughened teeth.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so these signs are picked up at the first visit. Secondly, whether after feeding the cleaning is happening or no, because right when the baby's teeth are erupting, if the baby is in the habit of sleeping with the bottle in the mouth,
Hmm.
even when the teeth have not completely erupted, they begin to decay. Okay.
I
So
see that
it has-
early.
Oh yes. And the parents
okay.
usually give the complaint that, oh, the teeth had erupted this way. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
because the entire eruption process takes a few months, whereas
Hmm.
decay can begin within few days. Okay. And in the entire human body, from birth till adulthood, the
Hmm.
only tissue that does not
Hmm.
regenerate itself, that does not shed off and like our skin or our hair or
Hmm.
our nails, they regrow. Tooth is the only tissue we can say that does not shed or regenerate itself or heal itself in any way, making the
Okay.
dentist indispensable. So,
Okay.
in a way, so that is the thing you have to pick up in a
Hmm.
child and guide the parent that okay, every feed, after every feed them a few spoonfuls of water, or you can take a
Okay.
clean cloth and just
Huh.
wipe off the surfaces. It's a good habit
So you are
because
talking about wiping off the front portion of the teeth or the cavity inside the mouth as well.
entire cavity, because
Okay,
the
this is something
cavity
that
is
parents,
lined
I
up.
don't think in India, parents are aware of this thing because it is not something, honestly, it is not something that was told to me by my pediatrician when my kids were really young. So this is something that people are not aware of.
Very important. It's very important.
Okay, all right. And there is a concept, Dr. Sai, in dentistry called delayed dentition. What
Yes.
exactly is that, and how can we, look out for signs of that in our baby?
Delayed dentition is becoming more of a trend now because
Mhm.
the ideal age for, like I said, the front teeth or the incisors to
Hmm.
erupt is 6 months,
Right.
and usually up to 1 year. So it
Okay.
every baby has his own growth
Hmm. Pattern. Right.
trajectory, if we can use
Okay.
the word.
All
Okay,
right.
so it depends upon the genetics, the heredity
Mhm.
of mom and dad, and
Mhm.
if mom and dad have had late or delayed eruption, the baby will have it. So it's not really a problem. It's
Mhm.
just like you have a bell's curve. Some babies will fall bang on the normal curve, and
Mhm.
some will be early or delayed erupters.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
but overall, if you see, there is a trend towards delayed eruption.
Mhm.
The teeth that are supposed to come out at 6 months, even in my case, like my son had his first tooth erupt at the end of 8 months. So
Okay, I
we were
had
really
this
happy.
problem with both my children actually. Both
Yeah.
my kids had late dentition, and of course, the dentist. I took them to a dentist, and he told me, "Don't be so worried about this. It's a very normal, developmental delay."
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
And
Dr.
it is
Arwa.
seen with both.
Sorry.
Sorry. It's seen
No,
with
no,
both missed teeth and permanent teeth also. So if it is
right.
delayed in this
Hmm.
deciduous phase, it will probably be delayed in the permanent dentition phase too.
Okay. All right. Got it. Dr. Arwa, on that note, there's one thing I would like to ask you. This is something ki India may see when an infant is born. The first thing is the minute the child is born in the family is all about the baby, right? It becomes, and then all the free advice starts coming in. कि बच्चे को एक्सरसाइज कराओ, बच्चे की मालिश बहुत जरूरी है, हाथ पैर उसके हिलाओ अच्छे से, यूज डाबर लाल तेल और वट एवर तेल, एंड रियली a robust malish is very important. How true is that a myth that the child needs that massage, or is there some factual truth to it?
So the thing is, massage is a very personal choice. If
Okay.
you want to do it for your baby, you do it. If you don't want, there is no hard and fast rule. The
There's no
benefits of massage,
medical harm in doing that kind of massage.
no, but not. It shouldn't be that rigorous. Like, it
Right.
has to. Yeah, you're not washing clothes. You're massaging a baby, so
Right.
yes, it has to be like firm but gentle,
Okay.
and like whatever product you use should be hypoallergenic, not causing harm to the baby. People use mustard
Absolutely.
oil and all that. All is
Uh-huh.
not good for the skin. It immediately leads to reactions. But
Right. Right.
on this, yeah, on this, I would like to say that preterm babies massaging has shown benefit in weight gain. We have seen in the
Okay.
NICU, the sisters
Okay.
usually gently they just rub oil into their bodies, plain coconut oil, and over a period of time, it does show benefit. Besides, in
Okay.
healthy newborns, the benefit of massaging is the mother-infant bonding, basically. But we
Yes.
don't, the mother doesn't massage, the mother rarely massages. It's usually we call somebody from outside who does that.
Right.
And also, yeah, also massage promotes good sleep. So it calms the baby down and it promotes good sleep in the baby. So usually we notice that after massage, 4 at least 4 to 5 hours, the baby sleeps comfortably.
The
So
mother is
that is
free.
one advantage. Yeah, the mother also can sleep.
The mother can rest. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So that
Okay.
is
So
one
tell
advantage.
Okay, so tell me, if we talk about children between the age group of 1 to say 5 years or 6 years, tell me what, from a pediatric viewpoint, what is the development curve like? What milestones should we look out for, and at what age?
So physical milestones would be the child usually starts walking by 13 to 15 months of age. Maybe early, again, maybe late. So this is between 1 to 2 years. You look out for these walking, running, physical milestones. Walking,
Right.
running, sitting without support. Running still won't come at this stage, but they can at least walk without support comfortably. After 18 months, they start running. They start climbing down steps first, and then they start climbing up one step at a time. This would be
Okay.
physical milestones, the motor
All
milestones,
right.
what we call.
Okay.
Okay, then regarding their other cognitive development, again they'll start talking at this age. So you can make out words. The more you talk to them, the more they will respond. The more you
Okay.
stimulate them, the faster they start talking. So you have to keep
Okay.
reading. That's why we insist. By 6 months of age, also you start reading stories, show them pictures. That's how they learn new
All right.
words, and then they will
Okay.
start talking also faster. They learn new
Right.
words. And what would be the red flag signs between 1 to 2 years is when your child is not walking independently in this age, or your child is not talking at all. Okay, some
Right.
children do talk a bit late, even after 2 years. Like my younger one started talking after 2.5 years, but he would understand.
Okay.
So understanding is
Okay.
also important. He would follow orders. You tell sit, they go and sit like that. Okay, and vocabulary will start developing between this. They'll learn more words. They'll follow your instructions. So all these are their cognitive development. Means you know that their hearing is intact. It's reaching the brain. They are understanding. But if that is also not there, then that is a sign of concern. Okay, then their vision.
Okay.
They start pointing out to things. After 6 months, they cannot really make out. After 6 months, the visual acuity starts improving. And so by 1 year, they can easily see everything clear pretty well. And they can point things, and they can tell you what is this or what they want. They can express their needs. Once
Yeah,
they
and then
start sitting,
they start with the whys
Yeah.
very soon, right? 2 words, no and why. Why this, why
Yes.
this, why everything is why.
Yes.
Do this, why.
Then by 18 months, when they can sit comfortably on their own, then we suggest after 18 months your child is ready for potty training. Like some
Okay.
parents do want to start early, but in my experience, I feel once they understand, it's easier to get it done. Then
Okay.
instead of struggling for
absolutely.
months, you can do it in weeks once your child understands. So after 18 months, we suggest you can start them training urine and potty. They learn.
Okay.
Some kids will be delayed, but then that's okay. That's all a part of growing
Right.
up.
Right. Yeah.
So this up to 3 years. Now 2 to 3 years is that terrible twos, what we call. Okay? The children are very toddler phase. They are very curious. They want to explore everything. Accidents tend to happen in this age too. Okay, so corners, and my kids have bumped their head many times, stitches, everything. I've done everything. I've harassed my seniors a lot on this. But then, okay, then you have to proof your house, corner cushions and all that. And you have to supervise them. 1 second your nazar goes and can't see. It's like
Nazar hati durghatna ghati, basically.
after 3 years, they don't understand what is right, what is wrong, what they are supposed to do. It's just curious. We cannot blame them.
Yeah, they're insanely curious. They want to know everything. They want to do everything that the grown-up is doing, even though they don't have the, physical ability to do it. But karna sab rehta hai.
Parents usually tell me my kid is very active, what to do, give something to make them calm. I'm like,
my
they are
God.
not active. They are normal. You get tired easily. It's not your fault. Neither is the child's
No, no,
fault.
this is a complaint my mother, had with me throughout. I think my mother is watching this session, so she was like, "You were a hyperactive child. It was very difficult to control you at any time." So,
So
do you have any such
hyperactivity
advice for hyperactive kids? What should the
no.
parents do?
Up to 3 to 4 years, this is normal. This is not hyperactivity. Then
So,
when
I was a
after
normal
four
baby,
years,
basically.
yes. So after 4 to 5 years, if the child still has these symptoms, then that is something different altogether. That what we call
Right.
attention deficit and all that. That
Hmm.
comes into play after. But it's important to recognize it earlier. Now, if the child has been hyperactive right from the beginning, then it's
Hmm.
something which we can like pay a close watch to that child. Okay, this child
Hmm.
is already showing symptoms, maybe follow up regularly, and then the earliest indication, early referral will improve the outcome.
I see. And on that note, Dr. Sai, I would like to hear from you. Dr. Arva has told us the entire developmental curve. How does that come into play when it comes to dentition in a child? So, what is the curve like from 1 to 5 years of age?
From 1 to 5 years of age, you see a change in the child's responsiveness to various foci in their body. Okay, they will
Okay.
concentrate in the first 3 years only on the oral cavity because feeding is
Okay.
the first need from when they are born. That is
Right.
the stimulus they look for. That
Hmm.
gives them comfort. So everything is to go into their mouth because it gives them comfort. Okay, and
Right.
because the only thing they understand is hunger and pain. Otherwise
Hmm.
other things they are just taking in. So uh, so the first 2 years, like they become accident prone in terms of what they are going to ingest, so what they find on the
Hmm.
floor and all that. Okay, especially after the teething begins, because then they are aware that okay, something is changing, it's hurting. The initial
Right.
teething process, the tooth cuts through the gum, it
Hmm.
does cause some inflammation and some pain. So they try
Hmm.
to soothe that irritation by finding things to put in their mouth. And so it
Hmm.
starts right from 6 months of age. So you will have initial bouts of diarrhea when they start to teeth. So usually
Okay.
teething is said to be associated with diarrhea like
Hmm.
conditions
Hmm.
or
Okay.
colic like conditions. So that is the first thing.
Hmm.
Secondly, what happens as they go on to the solid foods, they tend to retain their initial suckling movement. They
I
tend to
see.
thrust
Okay.
their tongue out. So,
Okay.
second thing is now they are exposed to more stresses also, because now the
Hmm.
parents start resuming work and also there are stresses involved while separation from parents is happening, or they're meeting new people, or
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
fall down trauma. So all these stresses they try to comfort by different habits. They'll try to suck their lip or they'll try to bite their thumb. So habits is
Hmm.
another thing at this stage of development that becomes very, very important. It's very common to find a baby who puts his thumb in his mouth and
Right.
sleep, or he cannot sleep without his pacifier, or some parents say that he needs his bottle. He will never sleep without the milk bottle.
Is that good from a dental perspective, though?
Never,
Doesn't it lead to
never.
buck teeth or whatever, later on?
It is never good because any kind of milk, whether it is breast milk or whether it
Hmm.
is fortified formula milk or cow's milk, they all have some kind of carbohydrates or sugars. These
Hmm.
sugars tend to bind to your tooth, and the bacteria lining the oral cavity will ferment these. The minute the fermentation process takes
Ah,
place, your pH will go down and acid is produced, and acids tend to dissolve any kind of crystals, and your tooth is
right.
basically a crystal. So the dissolution
So
process
decay
starts, and
happens.
that's how
Yeah.
the cavity begins. So
Okay.
at night, if the baby is not able to sleep and all, you can try pacifiers initially, or try weaning, or try any other distraction technique, but try not to make him sleep. Or you can give him a bottle of water, plain water,
Hmm.
but never milk or sweetened sugary syrups or juices. That should not be done in this stage.
Okay. And what is the age by which all the milk teeth have erupted? By what age does that
By
happen?
2.5 to 3 years of age. 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay. And when do they start to fall off so that the permanent dentition comes?
They start to fall off from 6 years of age.
Okay,
From
I see.
6 years of age. So they are already into their primary school by that time.
Right,
They've gone
right,
to the
exactly.
kindergarten. Okay.
Okay,
Now the
on
thing
that,
with habit, sorry,
sorry, continue, please. Continue.
I forgot to mention the habits of thumb sucking, lip biting, the finger sucking. These are
Hmm.
considered normal up to the age of 3 to 4. So
Okay,
if you constantly keep making them stop it, they try to reinforce it because
okay.
they say in terrible twos and all, they will do
Yeah, they
exactly
learn
the
no
same
pretty
other.
fast, na? No, her cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever mom is saying is no,
And they
basically.
will they
Right.
will do the thing of opposite of what they have been asked to.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
the minute you take it out, it'll go back in.
No, but
So
I think this
at this
opposite
stage,
thing
take it
continues
easy.
throughout life. I mean, we just have to
Yeah,
approach them in a very different kind of manner throughout life when
exactly.
we face them.
Exactly.
Okay.
So without them knowing, distraction is the best
Hmm.
way in the initial few years to break
Okay.
that habit pattern.
That's a
That-
great tip. That is a great tip. Okay, Dr. Arwa, on that note, now once the child is about 6 years old, right? He's already into the schooling system in India. We are unlike foreign countries where till the age of 5 the child is at home, and the child, that kind of development is very different. So now our child is already into the schooling system. He's into a structured format. Play school से निकल के nursery हो गया, class 1 आ गया है. Suddenly a lot of things change for the child. The working hours go up, like schooling hours जो 2-3 घंटा स्कूल में खेल के आता था बच्चा, that has gone up now to a considerable amount of 6 to 7 hours. So between that phase till the age of say I would say puberty, just before puberty, what are the kind of developmental changes that a child's body goes through, and how can how can I as a mother, or how can any caregiver supplement that kind of change so that the transition is as seamless as possible for the child, physiologically and psychologically?
So, between 6 years to pre-puberty, as you said, children do undergo a lot of changes. But if physically, there are there are certain stages where the weight and the height remains the same, plateau phase. Then it
Okay.
again peaks up for a year or two. Again, it becomes plateau, and then at puberty, it shoots up. So during this time, of course, as a caregiver to the child, we have to ensure that they eat well. They have the nutrition from all the food groups. We encourage healthy eating habits and not just junk food, which is very prevalent these days. But we can't
Right.
help it also. It's like now these days we have to bribe them. तुम school attend करो, तुमको chocolate देंगे. It's like because of that online thing, it's become like that.
Very
Food
different.
bribing
Very
is
different.
on.
Hmm.
So what we can do is we can explain the child that this is how it's going to be, and as a family relate to the child that okay, he's undergoing changes. There's so much syllabus to study. Suddenly from the playful thing, now he has to write pages and pages. So it's like sit down with him, tell him it's okay, we'll do it 2 pages at a time. You can't do it right now, do little, take a break, again do it. So that is from the academic point of view. Sometimes some children lag behind, they cannot cope up, and that is also fine. So as parents, we need not pressure them too much that they get if they get withdrawn in their shells and then they fail to evolve. So we don't want to do that as well. So we just give them their time, but at the same time continue our efforts as well. Okay. So and developmental wise, so as I said, they grow in their height, their weight keep fluctuating. That we have to make sure with
Right.
the correct nutrition. Some kids they don't grow at all; they are constantly below the curve, below the third percentile.
Right.
For such
Yes.
kids, yeah, for such we address the problem. Why is it like that? Is it genetics? Were the parents like that when they were small? Then they picked up at a later stage, and we also see whether how the child overall is. The child is active, healthy, not falling sick often. We don't do much about it unless the parent is too anxious. कि कुछ तो दे दो, then okay, I prescribe some supplements, some multivitamins. Okay, 2 months you give and see.
Right.
Some parents do notice that improvement, some don't, but then it's okay. As the child grows, they pick up their growth, their weight and height. Now, some kids are also above the curve, that also needs to be addressed right from the early age before it develops into full-blown obesity. So
Right.
there, the diet also needs to be addressed. That as a family, everybody has to participate.
Hmm.
Thinking about the changes of the in the diet of the family as a whole. Plus, during this now, because of this online thing, the kids are very frustrated because they
Hmm.
don't get time to go outside to play. Now again, all the lockdown restrictions are being imposed, so they have to be
Right.
cooped up in the house. So there, we can engage them in indoor games to reduce the screen time also, and avoid eating while playing and all that to ensure that they are also getting nutrition properly.
Okay, I'll just cut
Okay.
you short here for 1 minute. When you
Yeah.
say, of course, we have to ensure that screen time is reduced. Why? Because nowadays classes are also online. Plus, uske alawa
Yes.
mobile hai. These kids have iPads and they read on the Kindle. So
Yes.
everything is on screen right now. At what age do you think, or what signs do we look out for to ensure that our child has, perfect eyesight? How do we identify that the child needs to go to, suppose, an ophthalmologist, or पीरियोडिक चेकअप इज नेसेसिएटेड दीज डेज, जो कि पहले नहीं था. हम साल में एक बार अपने बच्चे को ले जाते थे आई चेकअप के लिए. इज इट मोर इम्पोर्टेंट नाउ दैट वी
Yes.
डू दैट?
So the first visit to a pediatric ophthalmologist should be at 3 years of age, irrespective of
Oh,
whether your
that early.
child has any. Yes, 3 years,
Oh,
and
okay.
then from there you take it. If the child is like usually annually, but if the child has symptoms, eye rubbing, headache,
Hmm.
probably has a refractive error, so then that also needs to be addressed.
Okay. Okay. And Dr. Sai, I would like to ask you something very, very important. Firstly, I don't know, it's always been my feeling that the dental field does not get its due in India. We Indians do not tend to take dentistry as seriously as we take other medical, professionals. Not because of the, I would say, the advice or anything, but because of the follow-ups. We are not that bothered about dental hygiene for some reason. Brushing our teeth twice a day, before when we get up in the morning and before we sleep at night. This is something that is not very strictly enforced in Indian households. Times are changing now. But जिस तरीके से this thing is enforced in other Western countries, it is not enforced. So, can you please tell us, firstly, when is it that a child should be introduced to the concept of brushing his teeth? How should a parent guide the child through that? And how should we ensure that we maintain dental hygiene for our child?
Correct. I'll address your first question. Why it is not so. Why is it not considered so important in India? First of all,
Okay.
70% of our population is rural. And if you see the statistics of dental professionals, 70% are concentrated in cities.
Cities,
So
right.
people, and you have medical health personnel trained in basic things like childbirth or dressing wounds or simple cough, cold, fever. You have all kinds of practitioners to the public health center level, the PHC level,
Right.
in all five corners. But you don't have as many dentists. So basically, there's a huge chunk of population who have no access whatsoever to a specialist uh, eh, giving
Okay.
dental care. Okay, that is a huge and gaping problem in our country. Secondly, it is very unfair to say that in India we are not bothered, kind of a thing. We are still a struggling economy, and dental has become a kind of specialized field where, unfortunately, a lot of equipment is involved, a lot of material is involved. So it becomes a
Expensive
bit.
equipment is involved, I guess.
Exactly. Treating part is expensive. So basically, we have no excuse for the prevention part being not taught to the whole population, but at least the treatment part becomes inaccessible because there is no infrastructure at that place and because of the financial constraints. And we cannot really generalize and say the Westerners are really more responsible that way. They simply do so because they are insured. They have the
I
cover.
see.
So if a Westerner is saying that I got my yearly cleaning done, it's probably more because he has it in his cover, the annual
So we
checkup
don't
and
have
everything.
dental cover in India, or are there
No,
not
we
enough
don't. Even
insurance
health
policies?
insurance per se is now picking up in our country.
Right.
So dental
Yes.
insurance is still a long way off, and it will take some time. We have to really buck up as an economy before such, because this becomes a non-essential. Dentistry mein, there is no morbidity involved due to dental problems, at least in initial phases, unless the reaction becomes, the infection becomes a permanent one. So it is not an urgent case. And anyways, the attitude over here is little bit chalta hai ki 32 hai,
Exactly. Right.
that is also there. But there are many factors why it is not as popular in India to maintain your oral cavity as it may be in other developed nations. Your second question was how early can we introduce this to the child? As early as possible. The minute he can start grasping things in his hand, give him a toothbrush, let him chew it, let him destroy it. Let him see that you're standing in the mirror once in the morning, once in the night, make it stand with you in front of the mirror. Let him do his job, then quickly take the brush.
Sensitize the child before we, kind of form the habit.
Exactly. So now when he has learned to get out of his bed on his own, but the minute he comes out, give him a brush in his hand. Let him just do what he has to, make him stand in front of the mirror. But you cannot rely, obviously, they don't have the dexterity. So you have to take the brush in your hand and make sure that all the surfaces inside and out are clean, and a little bit of the tongue is also clean. Now this is like cleaning a cat, because no child is going to willingly open his mouth and okay, get the cleaning done. Okay, they see a TV, they see a cartoon, they want to just go, they are not bothered. So you have to make it a habit. It will not take even half a minute, they have barely few teeth initially. Then the 20 teeth,
one quick question to you. Stationary versus those automated toothbrushes, which one would you recommend for a child that young?
Stationary initially. You want them to develop that habit. And if it is a child with special needs, see, initially up to 6 years, I would always tell the mom or dad to supervise and do their brushing after whatever cleaning the child has done. Okay, you can, from the age of 4, allow the child to brush on his own. Show him how it is to be done, all the surfaces. Let them do it horizontally, circular, the way they like it. Okay.
And for how long?
Sorry.
For how long this brushing should be done? The period of time?
1.5 minutes. For kids, 1.5 minutes is enough. For adults, it's ideally up to 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but for kids, it's 1 minute is enough. Okay. And that's what, up to 6 years of age. Even now, for my son, he's 6 years now. I have to make sure that he has cleaned, because he will do the outer surfaces, but he won't do the inner surface. And obviously, even adults at this stage, I know, are not that used to being conscious about all the corners of their mouth. So it is too much to expect from a kid. So basically, let them do their thing, but just make sure in the morning he's standing in front of the mirror, and once before sleeping, you make it a habit. Because when it comes down, dental cleanliness habit is less of a skill and more of motivation. It is scrubbing. Okay. When you become an adult, obviously how you scrub and how you clean makes a difference, because wrong cleaning habits or wrong brushing habits can cause unnecessary wear of teeth. But as a kid, you are not going to apply that much force. So let them do their job. Just make sure the mother sees to it that all the surfaces of the oral cavity have been cleaned.
That's it. Yes. Okay, and one more quick question to you. Now we've got the child into the habit of brushing, right? Morning में कर रहा है बच्चा brush, रात को सोने के पहले कर रहा है. Now the child is 10 years old or 12 years old. He's just about to hit puberty. What are the typical cases when the child might need A, a dentist, B, an orthodontist, and C, a periodontist like you? So what are the different kinds of cases that they may need this? What do the caregivers have to look out for here?
Correct. Now, once they are brushing on their own, once the parents take off the focus, it is obvious that some areas are going to be neglected. So there are going to be some cavities in the milk teeth and the permanent teeth that's begin to erupt at 6 years of age. Okay. Now, one of the most common misconceptions is milk teeth do not require treatment. Okay, because गिरने वाले हैं क्या क्या
ये तो गिर ही जाएंगे. Right.
It is a wrong notion because the milk teeth are supposed to stay in your mouth till 11 to 12 years of age. Even though you lose the incisors at 6, your molars, the milk deciduous molars, they go off by age 12. So in the 6 years, and the kid is going to use those molars to chew. So you imagine if they are getting destroyed from 6 to 12, how is the kid supposed to chew
Right.
his food?
Right.
It's not possible, and he will have pain, or the decay goes deeper inside and affects his gums and the supporting jawbone. So he will have some kind of pus discharge or something like that. So these needs are addressed by the dental surgeon or the pedodontist, because not just orthodontist, we have a pedodontist who is specialized to take care of kids' dental needs right from birth to 18 years of age. And he basically they have to be well versed with the treatment protocols of basic restorative therapy, plus they have to be well versed with the child psychology, because dental treatment is a high stress even for us adults. Okay, it is just, it's a nightmare for kids. I mean, I really pity the small kids who come to
No,
my clinic.
I'm old enough, but I'm scared of my dentist. I'm telling you. Once a year, when I go for my checkup, I'm seriously scared, you know. And I'm like, जा करके I brush my teeth really well, and then I go कि नहीं सब ठीक है देख लो types. So I
It
can
is
relate.
So you imagine a kid, he is made to sit with all these lights on his face, and there are drills and pokey objects from all corners, and it is a nightmare.
Right.
So, which is why the first visit should not be when he is in pain. The first visit is when his first tooth has erupted. The dentist, when everything is normal, the dentist is guiding how it should be brushed, what are the dietary stuff, precautions you can take, and everything. So, these are counseling sessions that build up to a very positive response as the kid goes up when he goes to the dentist. And secondly, it is a very wrong thing to pose a dental visit as a punishment. देखो नहीं किया तो मैं डेंटिस्ट के पास लेके जाऊँ. It's a very wrong thing.
A lot of
Because
parents do that.
he already comes with, oh, this is a monster and he's going to punish me for
Dental
whatever.
visit and hostel, दो चीजें which Indian parents have patented. नहीं किया
हाँ.
ब्रश तो डेंटिस्ट के पास, पढ़ाई नहीं किया तो हॉस्टल में डाल देंगे. हाँ.
Exactly. So that is a wrong mindset, because if you want to give a negative reinforcement कि अगर नहीं किया तो दर्द होगा, you can explain it to them in that way. अगर किया तो I will give you an extra chocolate. Okay, but you can, you can always, I'll come to that later when we discuss the dietary part of it. But don't put all the negative load onto the dentist, because really you're going to need a dentist once or twice in your lifetime.
Absolutely.
The best care you take, even if you don't get decay ever, you will be having some wear issues, or there can be other pain issues where you need to visit a dentist. So you don't want to go there with a negative setup. He's going to help you. He's like your teacher. That kind of mindset should be there, especially in kids who are now learning what fear is, what anxiety is, because till 2 years of age, they are the boss of everyone. They can do whatever, 2, 3 years of age. They really don't, they aren't that scared. But by the time they're 6 or 7, they watch enough of television, they read news, they
understand
know
the
what's
concept.
happening.
Yeah.
So they have this fear developing. So I find it easier sometimes to treat a 4 or 5-year-old than to treat a 7-year-old who is already anxious. So that way, this all comes under the dental surgeon or a pedodontist. Now, when the kid's jaws are developing and his permanent teeth start erupting one by one, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, his canines are erupting by 12 years. That time you get to see, so from period of 9 years to 11 years, you get to judge if the kid is going to have crowding in his teeth, if he's going to have spaces in his teeth or her teeth, or if he is still having a wrong habit, because up till 4 years ठीक था, अभी तो गलत है, 9 साल का बच्चा अगर ऐसे बैठ रहा है तो that is wrong. So here you start needing the orthodontal consultation. So there are a lot of parents who come to me as early as 6 की spaces है, but those spaces are in your milk teeth and they are supposed to be there. Milk teeth are small. They are small.
So it's only when the permanent teeth erupt, then we should judge and see if the child needs braces or not.
Exactly. So that is when about 9 years of age or 10 years of age, we can get a clearer picture how far his jaws have developed. Can they accommodate bigger adult sized teeth in their mouth? So 9 to 10 years is when the orthodontist comes into picture. And
Okay.
the last specialist you had mentioned was
Is your specialty
periodontist. Okay,
surgery? Yeah.
periodontist is very important at puberty because
Okay.
in puberty lots of hormonal changes start happening. The gonad starts secreting testosterone in boys and estrogen progesterone in girls, and these hormones tend to cause increased vasculature in peripheral tissues. Okay,
Hmm.
so whenever there's increased vasculature, there is a lot of circulating blood, and there is an exaggerated response to any microbes present anywhere in your body. So the acne,
Okay.
and that is very
The
common.
breakouts start
You have
happening now.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the same thing in oral cavity. Oral cavity is never sterile. It's always completely inhabited by a huge. There are millions of microorganisms and hundreds of different species of microorganisms in your oral cavity, and they
Okay.
are harmless until your immunity goes down or until your immunity becomes exaggerated. So in puberty, you will typically have swollen gums. You will see there might be some amount of plaque or tatter. It's always present. So the kid
Hmm.
may need his first oral cleaning, the scaling procedure that we say,
Hmm.
usually at around that age, 12 to 13 years of age,
I
when
see.
he
Okay.
has that build up, and because of the hormonal changes now, there is
Hmm.
bleeding gums, there are swollen gums, or sometimes
Hmm.
even painful gums. So that is where the periodontist comes
The
in.
periodontist
So
comes in.
first in a kid.
I
Yes.
see. Okay. Dr. Arva, coming back to you, coming back to this very, very important stage in a child's life, which is, as Dr. Sai said, the pubertal phase. That transition from being a child to a young adult, you know, it's a really difficult phase for any parent to handle, or rather it can be. And it is said that the teenage is a really difficult phase. The children are they are rebellious, they have this hormonal surges, and like Dr. Sai said, there are breakouts and other, there are facial changes happening, there are body changes happening, there are temperamental changes. How important is a pediatrician's role during this phase? And secondly, how important is the role of diet in this phase?
Okay, so as you said, the teenage years are a very turbulent phase. You must be
Yeah,
experiencing it right now.
experiencing it. Yes.
So, as pediatricians, when usually I don't see that many teens,
Hmm.
but when they do come to me, I see tweens, 11 to 12 years. So
Okay.
when they do come to me, mainly the girls, especially, I advise them to take the vaccine for cervical cancer. It's available
Yes.
now,
Right.
and yeah, and it's we can offer that, but that depends. The choice depends on the parents if they want to give it to their child or no. Secondly, there is this another booster dose of tetanus, reduced diphtheria, and or cellular pertussis. We call the Tdap.
I see.
Uh,
Okay.
so that dose we can give between 10 to 12 years of age.
I
Okay,
see. That is
and
something that many parents are not aware
yes,
of actually, that the booster should be given. Okay.
so at and 10 years, and after that every 10 years. So that is one thing. Secondly, at this age, maybe the child is not on a very friendly term with the parents. Maybe a counselor
Hmm.
can help at this stage. So
I see.
if the parent can talk to the child that maybe you're not comfortable sharing it with me, maybe a third person might help. So make them comfortable to the idea of talking to a
To
counselor, because
somebody.
that, yeah, that really helps with the emotional
Transitional phase.
changes they are going through. Yeah, and then the body changes which are there, like some kids do have a delayed puberty also, so that needs to be watched, especially girls up to 16
Course.
years they may not get. So then there are many syndromes which come into play, and which
Mhm.
needs to be detected early so that they can so that we can provide hormonal supplements and ensure that they grow, at least they can achieve the height which they are supposed to achieve with the treatment. And
And
coming to
what
the
kind of
diet,
diet? Yeah, diet.
yeah. So coming to the diet, it's like they can have all kinds of foods what they had as kids, but maybe because of the peer pressure during this phase, they tend to experiment with different kinds of foods, and that's okay. There may be tantrums at home, telling the mom to cook this type of food, or maybe the parents can encourage the children to participate in the cooking process. Okay, and
Okay, when it
yeah,
comes to, I'll just cut you short one sec.
yes,
When it comes to this puberty phase, especially guys, with that hormonal surge in the boys, the voice is changing, the height is like, shooting up. Girls are going through the menstrual cycle for the first time. It is said that the nutritional supplements should contain a lot of iron. Or we should supplement it via natural foods, beetroots ho gaya, apples ho gaya, whatever, spinach ho gaya. So, these supplements, how important are they? How important is iron, say magnesium, or potassium? These three things, how important are they from a physiological point of view?
so all these foods we get in a healthy diet. There is no need to supplement it. So for iron, you eat dates, jaggery, green leafy vegetables. If you're a non-veg eater, red meat. So all these you will get from your diet. So if you're eating all that, you don't need to supplement it. And if you have a doubt that my child has a less hemoglobin, is anemic, get a simple hemoglobin test done. It will show if the hemoglobin is less, then
CBC
you
test can
supplement.
be done.
Yes. Otherwise, you don't need to supplement unnecessarily. So see, I can see a question here that girls, what diet they should have when the girls, especially when they start menstruating. So the same thing, as I said, the normal healthy diet what we have at home, including all the food groups, is enough.
So it's important to make sure that all the food groups are represented on your plate, basically, both square meals.
Right. So unless there is documented anemia, you don't have to treat it. And the pubertal phase lasts up to say 16 to 17 years. The maximum, first the changes happen in the body. The breast bud starts developing, then there's pubic hair, and then axillary hair, then the growth shoot happens. Then the breasts continue to develop. So this growth shoot is in between puberty. The stages 2 and 3, what we call stages of puberty. So during that time, the shooting of the height happens. That was the second question here by Sarav Jyot. I hope I have answered to a satisfaction.
Okay, thank you so much. On that note, Dr. Sai, there's something I'd like to ask you. From a dental perspective, what are the foods that you recommend? And any supplements? Yeah, there was a lot of debate. I think about 2 years back with respect to fluoride versus salt in toothpaste. So, these companies are forever coming up with newer kinds of toothpaste. Aaj charcoal hai, kal salt hai, kabhi fluoride hai, kabhi kuch hai. So what do you recommend as a dentist?
Fluoride is recommended all throughout your life, okay? But the dosage differs according to age. In very young kids, up to 2 years old, no fluoride should be supplemented. Whatever is acquired from the diet is more than enough, because fluoride beyond the recommended levels causes malformation of bone. The calcification process of bone is hampered.
What are the fluoride-rich foods, if you could just tell us?
Which foods?
Yeah, fluoride-rich foods.
Fluoride is a salt in traces. It is present in all the vegetables growing in soils. Okay. So your basic, even your lentils and all, they have traces of fluoride in them.
Okay.
And why we need external fluoride application to make the enamel layer, the topmost layer of your tooth, resistant to decay, because the fluoride is absorbed onto the crystals of the tooth, and they become resistant to dissolution by acids. So which is why we need more of topical fluoride and not ingest. Of course, ingested fluoride is also important in formation of your anatomy of the tooth and all, but it is usually fulfilled by a good diet. You don't need to supplement fluoride unless you're completely in an area where water and soil is completely deficient in fluoride. So supplementation is never usually done orally. You just need a topical. Up to 2 years of age, no fluoride. From 2 to 3 years of age, you start needing fluoride. So there are kids pastes available.
Right.
One is a full fluoride dose, which is 1,000 parts per million dosage. Okay, that is for adults. And then the kids paste have 500 parts per million fluoride concentration. So up to 3 years of age, you will just apply a smudge or smear. It's like a size of a rice grain or a wheat grain. That's all the dosage the child needs. Okay,
Okay.
because first of all, they are still not well versed with rinsing and spitting out.
Right.
They might ingest it. Okay.
Mhm.
Then from 3 to 6 years, you can give a pea-sized toothpaste to them of the kids' concentration, 500 ppm. And as they grow older than 6 years, you can give your adult place, but it's never as much as they show in the advertisement, the entire bristle
I know.
surface. It's always half of the bristle surface that's required, even for us adults. Okay.
Okay.
This is about the fluoride.
Fluoride.
Sometimes the water in areas which are away from coastlines, the
Hmm.
plateau areas and all, they have too much of fluoride. So the
Yes.
water ingestion itself cause excess fluorosis, which is seen in as pigmented teeth, brown and yellowish color
Yes.
pigment, which is
Absolutely.
a sign of excess fluoridation. In that
Mm-hmm.
case, they need corrections with laminates or veneers if it is very heavy
I see.
pigmentation. Okay. Coming to diet in general, calcium becomes important in just for your dentition as well as your bone. The deficiency in calcium will not affect dentition directly as much as it affects your bones first, because bones act as a reservoir of calcium. If the blood levels of calcium go down, the bones are the ones that will get resorbed and provide calcium. The dentition comes last to get resorbed. So calcium deficiency won't directly affect the dentition per se. It will definitely affect your bones first, but severe deficiency definitely affects your dentition. Also, the calcium concentration of your saliva is also important to cause remineralization of the surfaces that are getting decalcified again and again. So calcium
Okay.
is
Exactly.
an important, yeah, as it is
Okay.
important for bones. Thirdly, the nature of foods that you're eating is very important from dental perspective. Like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, for healthy gums and all, you need enough proteins for the collagen to and the supporting tissues to be good, for the bone to be good. But for the dental tissues per se, your enamel especially,
Mm-hmm.
what kinds of sugars or what kinds of fiber content your food is having, that is very important. So
So
now
refined
we
sugar is bad.
so refined sugar is definitely bad, always bad for your teeth. It is definitely, but you cannot do without it because you
Yeah.
need that serotonin level to go. You need that endorphin. So obviously, you can ration it. Okay. So what becomes important here is you take your healthy diet with good amount of fiber content, your fruits. The sugar that is present in fruits is always bound in the fibers, and also it doesn't stick as much as to your teeth as a bun or a candy or biscuit.
So you're saying fructose is better
Okay.
than sucrose, is it?
No, fructose is as bad, but because it is not just fructose you're taking it in a very fibrous form, it will
Ah,
not stay on your tooth as much. But if
okay.
you're taking a juice of the fruit, it will affect as
It will
much as
affect
your other aerated drinks can affect your dentition. So natural foodstuffs, fiber-rich foodstuffs, cheese,
better.
those kind, cottage cheese and all, they are healthy for the teeth. And any kind of sticky, refined, soft food stuff has to be rationed. You cannot do without it, so you have to ration it to specific timings. Secondly, the frequency of your eating any food,
Mm.
even if it is good food, how frequently, if you're putting in your something in your mouth every half an hour, it is not going to be good for your oral cavity, because you will have some carbohydrates sticking onto your tooth structures, and
Mm.
every
Right.
time the pH drops, there is an dissolution process starting, and your saliva doesn't have enough time to neutralize it because the next food is coming in
Okay.
at that time.
Uh-huh.
So you should have your four major meals, and if you are going to have something in between, it has to be fruit or it has to be something fibrous like celery
And
stick or
rinsing the mouth
carrot.
after every meal, is it
It's
recommended?
very it is very important. So it
Okay,
will
I have
help neutralize the acid. Yes.
Okay, I have one very important question for you, leading from what Dr. Arwa has been talking about. Consistently, she's talking about the anxiety level in children, nowadays especially. So, how does anxiety manifest itself, especially during the puberty years, when it comes to the dental structure? Do you see signs of it in dentistry?
It will
How
typically
does?
come around the exam time. So the kid
Okay,
will say he's having jaw pain, he's having
okay,
some clicking, popping sound over here,
yes,
or he will be having dental pain or sensitivity. Now, basically, your whole chewing system comprises of your two joints, where your lower jaw is hinged to your skull. Okay,
Mhm.
and your musculature that do the chewing, and then finally your teeth. So they are called the stomatognathing system. Now,
Okay.
whenever there is stress-like condition, unconsciously you tend
Mm.
to chew or grind or
We
clench
grind
your
our
mouth.
teeth. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that habit will find the weakest link in these three factors. If your joints are weak, your muscles and teeth are strong, but joints are weak, the entire pressure is going onto the joint. There's a small disc in between, which gets
Mhm.
impinged constantly, and then you have the pain of joint. Secondly,
Okay.
if your muscles are getting strained before the other two tissues, you will have a musculofacial pain dysfunction, MFPDS. It's
Okay.
MPDS syndrome, musculoskeletal pain dysfunction syndrome.
Mhm.
Okay, so basically your entire musculature is sore because of constant grinding
I
that is
see. Okay.
happening unconsciously. And finally, when these two systems are done, the dentition takes the last brunt. It starts getting attrited, worn off. So you can see facets on kids uh, who are pathologic.
Okay.
They're doing it to a pathologic level. So
So
these are
tooth
the
chipping
signs.
can happen. Tooth
It may
chipping or
happen,
something.
especially if they are a habit of chewing a pencil or
Ah,
something like
right.
that. You see a notch which is coming onto the tooth
Mm-hmm.
because of the constant wear. So these are the signs you need to look for in stressful conditions. Also ulcerations, like you find a lot of mouth ulcers in stressed out individuals. So
Mm-hmm.
that is also sometimes picked up by the dentist.
I see. Okay.
Get those
Okay, Dr.
apples.
Alva, before we, wrap up this session, let's address, I would say, the elephant in the room, COVID times. I mean, our children's health is most important to us, especially during these times, especially since everything is online. We aren't allowing, and we in Bombay are facing another lockdown. So, right, we are not allowing our children to go down, interact with their friends, meet people. That in itself is taking a psychological, kind of effect on the kid. When it comes to a physical viewpoint, what kind of recommendation can you give to mothers or caregivers when it comes to safeguarding the health of their children? Like, how often should hands be washed? Should sanitizers be used at all throughout the day? Could you just give us a few tips that we can take home with us?
Yeah, so first thing is because if you are living in an area where there are so many COVID cases, avoid going out.
Hmm.
Firstly, don't send the child out. Don't take the child anywhere. Why? Because even if the child gets the infection, the child will not be affected that much, as he
Mhm.
or she will spread it to other family members. Now, why this
Okay.
happens? It's not because the child has a better immunity than adults, but it is because children respond differently to the COVID virus compared to adults.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
they release different set of proteins to fight the infection than the
Mhm.
adults. Hence, they are not affected that much as a
Okay.
normal healthy adult would be. So one is that thing, mask up whenever if you have no choice and they have to go out, then wear a mask, maintain a social distancing, don't go in crowds, especially don't go in a room which has more adults and is enclosed. There has to be a proper
Oh.
ventilation. Air
Okay.
conditioning is not recommended.
Okay.
Okay. In the house it's okay, but when you're going outside in some
Right.
party hall or something, then avoid
When you're with
avoid
people, it's
taking
not.
the
Huh?
child. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
uh, yes, and thirdly, yes, washing hands at home. Not don't have to rush every half an hour and wash.
Hmm.
The usual, if you're not going out, then the
Right.
usual things before and after visiting the toilet, before after eating food, for
Mhm.
20 seconds, the usual hand washing procedures being followed. And, or else, if they're going to open the door or something, then they should come and wash their hands.
Mhm.
Sanitizer, as you said, less than 2 years we usually don't tell because they just put their hands in their mouth. Less
Right.
than 2 years, soap and water is the best. In fact, for all age groups, soap and water is the best. But
Mhm.
when we go out, we don't have access to it that much. And plus, there is water shortage and everything, so we use sanitizer. But make sure you use a good amount and you rub it well. Rub all the surfaces of your fingers, palms, everything
Mhm.
well. Another thing that I have been seeing or hearing in this COVID times is steaming. It's become a fad. Everybody is steaming to prevent themselves, taking steam to prevent themselves
Acha,
from getting COVID.
okay.
Steam.
Oh,
So
I,
it's not necessary unless you have an upper respiratory infection. It's not
mm,
going to help. So I spoke to few of my dermatologist friends, and this is what they said. That steaming for once in a while when you do a facial or anything, it's okay.
mm,
But every day if you're doing, what does steaming do? It opens up the pores and enables the dirt to be removed easily so that your face appears clean and fresh.
clean,
But
right.
now if you're doing the taking the steam daily, then your pores start enlarging permanently. They will accumulate
Ah,
more dirt. The
ha, ha, ha.
cycle will become it will become a vicious cycle. We
Mhm.
don't want that, right? So why to do the steaming daily if it is not necessary? Only if you have symptoms, you have some nasal congestion, a sore throat, and you do it, then that is fine, but not
Okay,
on a daily
one second.
basis.
Can I just cut you short? Wait, you said you
Yes.
used the word symptom. So I
Hmm.
would like to understand what are the symptoms that as a parent I should be looking out for in my child, If
Hmm.
my child has been playing with other children or has been exposed to other adults, and I am
Hmm.
scared that the child might have contracted
Hmm.
COVID, what
Hmm.
symptoms should I be looking out for?
So, so COVID in children presents as a normal respiratory, upper respiratory infection. The child, like
Mhm.
how they get it throughout the year. The child will have a fever, a cough,
Okay.
stuffy nose,
So it's a
and
flu
sore throat.
basically.
Yeah, it's a
Sardi,
flu. It's
Khansi,
like a
flu.
flu.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Okay.
and it resolves by 3 to 4 days. Well, if it doesn't resolve by 4 days, 5 days, then that
Hmm.
time the parent should be worried and should take the child for a checkup to the pediatrician, who in turn
I
will
see.
suggest what has to be done.
Okay, okay. Dr. Sai, would you like to add to something, any other pointers that you can give when it comes to, ensuring that we safeguard our kids during these COVID times?
I can't emphasize from dental's perspective enough that prevention is better than cure. So you take
Mhm.
care of your oral cavity, because now even the dentists are having restrictions. They have been giving
Right.
guidelines that in a COVID hotspot zone or in
Hmm.
full-blown COVID affected area, you cannot do all kinds of planned procedures, dental procedures, because they are aerosol generating. So
Okay.
there is a restriction in kind of treatments that a dentist can provide. So knowing that, it is better to be very careful about your oral cavity and not let
Mhm.
cavities happen. And if there is an emergency, obviously you have to call the dentist. If the dentist can prescribe something and wait till the active phase of COVID is over, they can
Mhm.
do that. Or if there is an emergency involved where there is already acute pain set in, then you have to
Mhm.
go and visit the dentist. And at the dentist, you have to be careful not letting the child touch anywhere. And be careful that you take a appointment scheduled, like there is no crowd in that area and the waiting
Mhm.
area. And once the procedure is done, the dentist will address the most emergency part of the treatment, and he will let you go and then follow whatever prescription he or she has given to you. So that is very
Okay.
important. And like from signs and symptoms point of view, there are very few oral signs per se, like
Mhm.
loss of taste and all. I don't think it is
Mhm.
that common in children as it is in adults, or even if it is, the child may not be able to probably tell it that well, "See, this is not tasting nice."
Okay, so
It's
when it
something
comes to the oral cavity, see, a lot of people that I meet, a lot of children that I meet, wear chin masks. एक concept आ गया है आजकल की mask नाक से नीचे खिसकते खिसकते chin पे आ जाता है. Or else
yes,
they don't cover their nose. Why? Because they say that we are not able to breathe.
correct.
Now, when a person is wearing a three-ply mask and they are not able to breathe, uh, do you recommend mouth breathing as a dentist? Would you recommend that, or does that impact the teeth?
It does, because it dries your mouth. So your cleansing property of saliva flow is
Hmm.
not there. So there will be increase in cavity process. You want the saliva
Okay.
washing over your teeth all the time. You want that calcium
Hmm.
from the saliva resting to remineralize the decalcified structure. So
Uh-huh.
you mouth breathing per se will never be recommended. So I think the kid will have to wear mask for the few hours that he's outside. And if it is a cotton cloth mask, or if it is a three-ply mask, I think the breathing won't be that difficult. It is with the respirators, the N95.
Hmm.
Those masks are meant to cause resistance in your breathing, because they are meant to filter out all the small
Okay.
particles. but a 3-ply or a cloth mask should be okay. And as long as it is for a short while, mouth breathing, you cannot always control, okay, nahi karna chahiye or something. If the kid is really breathless, he can do it, but it shouldn't be a habit.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, both of you, Dr. Arva and Dr. Sai. I think this was one of the most fantastic sessions we had, in which we have been able to address the entire developmental curve of a child from infancy till the age of 18. And you have left us, with a lot of food for thought. And I personally have gained a lot of insights, things which I never thought I was doing incorrectly when it came to my girls. Now they are in for a surprise tonight, anyways. But but I'm sure this session will leave a lot of mothers and primary caregivers with a lot of food for thought about the things that we should and we should not be doing in the rearing of our children. So thank you so much. We've compiled a short, video clip of the advice that you have given, and I would like to play it right now. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Turn down the lights, turn down the bed, turn down these voices inside my head. Lay down with me and tell me no lie. Just hold me close, don't patronize. Don't patronize me, 'cause I can't make you love me if you don't. You can't make your heart feel something it won't. Here in the dark, these final hours, I will lay down my heart, and I'll feel the power, but you won't. No, you won't, 'cause I can't make you love me if you don't.